It's the Business Can Man. Hey, I've been gone for, a couple weeks now since I did a video. I'm out here in my sunroom at the house. And I wanted to give you an update. So the markets have been fantastic for me. When you're day trading, volatility is what you're looking for. Big movements up and down, and it gives you great opportunities. And so in this last 6 weeks, it's actually been fantastic. And I've made about 30% on my money in a 6-week period. And I've been focusing on Bitcoin. And I've talked in previous videos about hedging. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today. And to give you some information, some knowledge. You know, we see in the news and we see people talk about hedge funds and hedge fund managers. And I'm glad that in my old age, I've never lost the desire to learn and to continue learning and even learning even more after major mistakes, right? And so I've learned a lot about hedge funds and hedge fund managers and how they operate. And so I wanted to share some of that information with you because it's not something that's really taught. I suppose maybe on a high-end business college, they get into being a hedge fund manager and managing portfolios for people and, Charles Schwab or, large institutions, BlackRock, that kind of thing. What you'll find is that hedge fund managers, because of what they do, are some of the most successful people on a financial basis that you'll ever see. So, on some of my posts on Facebook, I've talked about George Soros. I'm sure you've heard of George Soros. And that's how he started his career after he went to college in England. And so he worked for a bank, and then he worked in the markets and as a hedge fund manager. And what he did is that he manipulates currencies, okay? And he trades the basis involved in currencies. And so what I've been promoting and talking about is hedge trading, literally hedge fund trading and how they operate. And so I thought I'd share that with you today. So I'm going to explain this as simple as possible. If you go out to, this is what hedge fund managers do, okay? This is how they make their money. If you go out and you go to buy a gold, 1 ounce gold coin right now from a bullion dealer in Kansas City, gold went all the way to $3,500 an ounce here 2 weeks ago. And right now it's at about $3,300 an ounce, okay? So let's say that you go down to buy that. You're not going to be able to buy it for $3,300. There's going to be a premium put on that, on the spot price, okay? And so maybe you pay $3,500 for that 1 ounce of gold. If you go to sell that, you're going to sell it at a discount because, these guys, these buyer and traders got to make money, right? Well, that's what a hedge fund manager is. And so anyway, I'll explain here in a minute. And so if you go to sell it, you're going to end up selling it for probably $3,100 an ounce. So when you have that $400 difference between the seller and the buyer, okay, in the marketplace, that $400 is called a base. Okay? And hedge fund managers, what they manage is making money in the base. Okay? They operate as just a sideline person that makes money on the transactions of buyers and sellers. By being a buyer and seller, but not for the long term, for the short term. Okay? And so what a hedge fund manager will do, the reason why it's called hedge is because they take positions long and short. Okay? Now, in the options world, that's exactly what people that trade options are doing also. They have calls and puts, okay? I am not an option trader because in options, you have to pick a date. It's usually long term, and I don't like that. I like to be in more control of my money on a daily basis. And what I really love about day trading is that I control my money on a second-to-second basis, okay? I'm in control of it. And I can buy and sell as the market ebbs and flows, that flows. And I can take profits on that ebb. And so that's what a hedge fund manager does, is they just take profits between the buyer and the sellers by being a buyer or seller themselves, or doing the work and having a better idea of what the market's going to do with that product in the long term or short term. And that's how they make their money. And so there's a lot of aspects to the market. I'm going to try and teach specific aspects so that you have a better understanding of how it works and how your money is working. So that if you're participating in a 401 or an IRA, I'm going to have videos on those specifically so that you understand how they're investing your money, okay? And how they're making money for you. So here's what's very common, is that in IRA or a 401, if that fund makes 20% on your money, which is massive, and that has happened in the last 2 years because of the market push up in the market. On average, they only average a 7 to 10% a year, okay, on return on your investment. In hedge fund trading, and what I'm doing on a personal basis, I'm averaging 1% a day, okay? So in a 1 week period, I'll make as much as, or a 2 week period, on average, I'll make as much as these other funds do in a whole year, okay? And I'm on pace right now to make 200% on my money by hedge funding, okay? And operating like a hedge fund manager does, but I'm doing it with my own money, okay? And actually, I've got a little bit different spin on it because I'm in control of it second by second, and I'm not looking for a long-term percentage of 10% or 20%. I'm looking for 1% per day. Okay, so that at the end of the day, I've made some good money. And what I can tell you is last week, I made 12% on my money in 1 week. And 12% would be fantastic in a 401 or an IRA. And but anyway, so that is all a hedge fund manager is doing, is they're participating in the market, but they're participating in a short period of time, and they're pulling profits off of the system, okay? And so that's all I'm doing, is I'm just taking profits between the buyers and the sellers, because I'm both long and short, okay? And I just take profits as it moves, see? Now, are there times that there's massive moves? Yes. And that's where you have to have studied your company or product that you're trading in to have a better idea of what it does, right? What it does, not the market, but what it does, and why it moves what it moves, okay? And what does cause big movements. And so the more you study and the more you learn that, the easier it becomes to make that 1% a day. Now, what I wanted to announce today is that I'm in the process of developing a private hedge fund here in Northwest Missouri. And our hedge fund that I'm going to develop will be a hard asset hedge fund. Our only investments will be gold, silver, land, real estate, and Bitcoin. And in those 5 areas, that will be our only investments. The fund itself, when I open this fund, the fund itself, 10% of all of our cash that we have on hand, that we have working, that people have invested in, will be held in physical gold and silver that you can touch. And then probably 10 to 20% will be real estate that you can touch, and land that you can touch. And so those will be hard assets. If we have any Bitcoin for long-term ownership, right now I believe that Bitcoin and silver are investments that can be 2 or 3 year investments, but you have to have the liquidity to buy and sell quickly on those individual products, because they're very volatile. And so when you do have that big profit, you want to be able to take it off the board as fast as possible. And so that's why I love day trading, because I have the power to do that. And you're not losing anything on the long or short by day trading, but you're gaining power and control over options and trading. And that's just my opinion. But what I can tell you is that when I get ready to open this fund, I'm getting all the legal structure done right now, and getting everything set in place. I will let you know. And when I open this fund, it's going to be based on different concepts that anyone else is doing, anyone. And so I'll share that with you tomorrow. That'll be the focus of tomorrow's video. And because I'm going to give the opportunity for the poor, the middle class, to recapture the wealth in this country. And so that we can become, the middle class can become strong again, and that our voices can be heard on a national level. And when you start holding the wealth of this nation, that's what gives you, along with numbers, right? Along with many people. But when you have many people and you have the wealth, now you have the power. And that's what we need to do to save our country and to bring us back to American values and principles. Guys, I love you so much. And this is the Business Can Man. Over and out. Come on!